Hi, it's Jackie at Spare Room Studio, and today I am back to finish colouring in this particular book, which is Alice in Wonderland by Olga. And I'm going to finish up with coloured pencils. I have a white acrylic paint pen. I've also got a selection of Jelly Roll Glaze and Metallic from Sakura, and I've also got this really cheap set that I purchased. Sorry for the glare. These were off of something like Temu, I think it was. Temu, AliExpress, one of those sites. And it's just called 3D Jelly by Shands. And between those three sets, I will put some extra shiny or sparkly effects onto the page. The coloured pencils that I have is my usual set that I have close to hand, which is Artex, and there are some Faber-Castell and Prismacolors and so on in there. Sorry, I was a little bit short on words there. So, actually that's not my paint pen. I've picked up a colourless blender instead of a paint pen. Well, that's a bit annoying, but anyway, we can pretend. Oh, here we go. I knew I had it somewhere. The Montmartre acrylic paint pen is what I've been using. And let's just see if it will work to reinstate some of these little white areas. I think they're going to go pink. Quite often acrylic paint markers over the alcohol markers, especially red, the colour does still come through a little bit, but it will be sufficient for what I need here. So just put those back in with that. So what I was thinking, while I have that out, I could do a little bit of a touch up on some of these little white areas here as well. So I was just thinking, I want to make it sort of a bit of fun. It's not, this isn't a serious colour. I don't think the pages in this book I'm going to be spending huge amounts of time on. It's just going to be a fun book for me. I think the small drawbacks with the paper will probably influence a lot of what I do. I will try some acrylic paint markers in here at some stage, because I think maybe they might work a little bit better on this paper. It's very absorbent. If you watch part one, I talked about it in there, that it felt a bit like blotter paper or tissue paper, because it was so absorbent, and it's gone right over the lines in places. So I'll just pop that aside. I just thought I would use a little bit of pencil to maybe darken up some areas or lighten up some areas, just to give it a bit of texture and a bit of variety. A lot of the time I'm quite happy with a simple alcohol marker image on some pages. It very much depends on the style of the illustration. You know, if it's a really fun illustration like this one is, very whimsical, I don't always feel compelled to put a lot of shading and detail back into a page. It just depends. I mean, you know, it depends on how you feel on the day and all sorts of things, doesn't it? But I do like to remind you that, you know, it is okay sometimes to just want a simple page. I know that I get really caught up in scrolling on Instagram because I don't tend to use many other social media platforms other than YouTube and Instagram these days, but I do get caught up on scrolling on Instagram and seeing that other people have got the same book as me, and they're colouring these amazing, complete, polished, fabulous images that almost look like paintings. And I start sort of thinking to myself a little bit, oh, maybe I should be putting a bit more effort into what I'm doing. And then I mentally kick myself and think, I don't have to do that. It's my colouring book. If I don't feel like putting all that effort in, I don't have to. And sometimes I do. There are pages where I just really get involved into it and I think, you know, I'm really enjoying it. I want to try everything with the page. I want to use all the products. I want to try, you know, different things. I want it to look real. I want to get all the shading in the right, you know, places and so on. There are pages that I do feel like that. But as I'm getting older, I'm finding that they are becoming fewer and far between. And I'm just looking for a nice deep colour to do a little bit of shadow on that one there. I think I might try, oh, I know what I'll try. My trusty Polychromos in the Delft Blue. That will be enough on that, I think. As I'm getting older, I'm just finding that I want different things from my hobby. And that's perfectly okay. And you might be younger than me and have children that restrict your time, other sort of, you know, life priorities that are far more important than colouring in a colouring book. But, you know, that season of your life will change eventually as well. But we've all been there. Some of my older followers will know what I mean. We've all been there at different times in our life where we've had the different priorities, and maybe now we're starting to, you know, slow down on those commitments a little bit and have more time for ourselves and our hobbies. And you just go through different sort of times and seasons where different things are more important or less important or whatever. And I do have plenty of time at the moment. Time is not an issue for me, especially while I'm recovering from, you know, the last month of medical debacles. But time is not the issue so much as my interest level in things is changing. And my growing book collection, which I've just added to horrendously. Sorry if Hamish just knocked the camera there. The growing book collection means that I'm also choosing a lot of books that I know that I can get away with making less of a time commitment for them. And there are, you know, simpler pages that I can just come to and colour when I've really not got the mental bandwidth or the time to do a complex colouring. I'm very much someone who likes to complete a page in one sitting if I can, or over the course of one day, for example. If I've got a quiet day and I'm not going out of the house and I'm not doing anything, I can get myself set up with my stuff and I can colour to my heart's content, but I can get up and walk away and do something that I need to do, or go out in the garden or whatever, and come back to it. But I can still generally get that done in one day. I might finish it off in front of the TV in, you know, that evening or whatever. I'm pretty fortunate that I can do that. you know, that I don't have any commitments that stop me from working that way. So I'm very fortunate to do that. But for my interest level and the way that I like to work, if I can get that done in one sitting, I'm much happier. I do have some whips on the go that I come back to. You know, it might be that they just don't hold my interest long enough to sit and finish in one go, or they're very complex and I just need a break from it, or whatever. Sometimes I will go through a book. Since I've discovered acrylic paint markers especially, I will go through a book and colour a whole heap of you know, backgrounds. For example, this one's not going to be the best book to show you that example, but you know, say something like this, I'd go through and I'll colour in all of the backgrounds if I have an idea of what I think the colours might be for that page, and I'll start a page that way, you know, like that one. But a lot of the time I don't know what background I'm going to put in until I've coloured the subject on the page, so that makes it harder to do that, but occasionally I'll do that. So I'll have some pages started that I can come to, you know, finish on a day when I just want to finish something. But more often than not, my working method is that I like to just sit down with a simple page like this and colour it until it's done, and that makes me happy. So we all have different ways of working. That's something that I like to do. I know some people have several whips on the go, you know, or they have the space that they could do that. They have several whips on the go and they jump around from one to the other, but I tend to lose track of pages when I do that, and they just don't get finished properly or whatever. So I like to be able to sort of finish this page and then shut the book and walk away from it, knowing that you know, it's complete and it's not cluttering up anywhere. So what I'm doing with this Delft blue is I'm just putting very slight shadows in places. It's not even technically correct. It's very, very rough and ready, but it gives the idea of a shadow, and that's really all I'm trying to do. And it gives it a little bit of a sense of depth instead of just being a completely flat page. And I like this Delft blue is very much, you know, very purple tone. So I just like the look of that with some colours. It's working well with the colour palette that I've chosen here. Okay, so I think I mentioned about using a pale blue in here in the rough, and the one that I had in mind is Cloud Blue by Prismacolor. And I'm just going to do a little bit of that in between the ruffles and the plates. Again, I'm not going for a photorealistic rendering here. I'm pretty much thinking in the lines of my favourite, you know, it's a picture storybook sort of look. If you look at children's storybooks, some of them are really magnificently illustrated, but a lot of it is very stylized, graphic, bright, eye-catching colours, but without all the technical brilliance that a finely rendered image has. I'm just going to put a little bit of blue into various areas, again just sort of a bit of a shadow, just helping to take some of that whiteness away. And I might do that on her face as well. And you can see how quickly and roughly I'm doing that. That might horrify some people that like a finely blended, perfect look, but that's really not my goal with this picture. So I'm sorry the rubbish truck is going past, as often does in my videos. I'm filming on rubbish day. Doesn't seem to matter if I record in the morning or the afternoon though, one of them will come past when I'm recording. And I'm also going to put a little bit of that up here just to tie these things into the picture. So I guess what I hope to do when I'm doing these sorts of pictures with you is to show you that you don't have to do everything precisely and perfectly and still get a perfectly adequate result. Now this is just a clear, or well, it's a white, I think. When I use it over a colour it goes a bit milky, but I'm just going to use that in her eyeball just to give that a bit of shine, hopefully. It doesn't appear to be working all that well at the moment. I do store these flat on their side, but occasionally you do get the fact that they block up. They are cheap ones. I found it really difficult to purchase the Sakura in the clear glaze here in Australia, or the black. It's been really hard to find. Just add that for a bit of shine there. I'm going to have to be really careful I don't put my hand in that, because you know what I'm like for putting my hand in these things. I thought maybe the little gems and so on might be nice to have some sort of glaze on them, but I'm not sure I've got colours that I really want. I would actually change that to like this. This is like a magenta or a purple. I might put a little bit of that onto various things. And I'm really going to have to try and remember where I've put this stuff. It's close enough to a red that it's looking okay. And I might even put some of that onto the berries, just for a bit of shine in places. And I might do that on his nose. And I wanted to do these branches in here in something shiny. Let's have a think. This is like an orange, but almost sort of like a bronze, coppery metallic. So I'm going to do that. And the reason I've chosen to do that is because the alcohol marker has bled over a lot of this detail. And this is just some way to reinstate it, but add a little bit of shine and some interest into there as well. So this is about the maximum I like to do with the gel pens. I'm not big on colouring with gel pens as a rule. I have purchased a book that is very much design in nature by Chris Garver, that I might actually use some gel pens in that book just for something different, but as a rule I don't normally do that. Now, sorry about coming over the camera view here, but I'm just going to do those ones up there. And then, oops, there you go, see, I'm good at doing that. Just, that is annoying. I have to try and cover that up with some acrylic. I thought it was dry, but no. And I might even use this on the pocket watch instead of introducing a gold. Although I think I might like that to be sparkly rather than metallic. Okay, so have I got all of those? I think so. That is annoying, but that is exactly what I do. So this has got a broad tip on it. I'm just going to dot to disguise that. So I might use some sparkly stuff down here. Let me just check. You are in camera, you are. Sorry, I've got a bit of a numb foot from the way that I've been sitting. So it was a bit awkward getting up. So let's do some sparkly down here. I will do... Now I also have in this pencil case here a whole group of sparkly, glittery, metallic gel pens and so on that have come from various cheap stores, department stores, you know, that sort of thing. So they're really cheap ones. And I'm going to look for something glittery, I think, for the pocket watch. And I'm just trying to see what colour I think I'd like it. That might be useful on something. We'll keep that out. I will use this one, which is sort of copper or bronze maybe. Now this is a store that we have here in Australia called Kmart. It's a bit like a Walmart, and that is from there. What I might do actually is I might mix some colours here. So I'm going to do that in the bronze, more brownish sort of colour. So yeah, Anko is the brand that they sell, like a home brand sort of thing. And what I found is occasionally with those cheaper sets you get an odd colour like this one that you don't get in perhaps your Sakura or Adira metallic. And it sometimes makes those cheap sets worth buying just for the, you know, couple of random colours that you don't get in other sets. And there was a yellowy orange sort of colour that I did have. I'm not sure where that's gone. I think maybe what I'll do is just go for more of a traditional gold, and this is metallic. So I'm mixing my, this one looks like it's got an air bubble in and it's not going to work. That was the Art and Fly brand, and I was a bit disappointed with them because they had quite a few that had those air bubbles in. Let's try this one. This one is Art and Fly as well, but it's more brown. Oh yeah, that one's working for now. The trouble with gel pens is, you know, you look at it and you think, oh yeah, it's got plenty of ink in there. And then they just decide to stop working on you. And it's really annoying. That's why I tend to not rely on them for large areas. I'd prefer to just do accent areas with them because they can be notoriously unreliable. And I'm going to go in between those little almost beaded areas. I hope this isn't like watching paint dry for you guys. It's a bit boring. And what I'll do here is I'll put in something a bit lighter, maybe. So my neighbours are bringing their bins in now. You might be able to hear that. There's a bit of racket going on out there, but I apologise if that is the case. And then Hamish can hear that, so he's running back and forward. So this is also Anko, but it's a different set in their range. And it's very, very, very fine tip. and it's good for these little areas that you want to get into. And I'm going to go on the edge of those leaves where it's lighter. I'm going to bring in this glaze pen that's almost fluorescent, and hopefully that will pick up a little bit of a brighter look for there. And I've got that inner ring to decide on, and then it's finished, I think. Oh, a few little details here. So let's have a little think here. I actually have a pale green metallic here. So let's see if that's going to lift. Oops, sorry, knocking the camera there. That will lift that a little bit just by adding that bit of brightness in there. And I don't want to turn the book. And I'm feeling like Alice's hair is a little bit bland, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move all of these out of the way. I've got such a mess going on here. I'm going to choose Canaria Yellow. And just see if I go over whether I can lighten that up a little bit by adding that lighter colour in there, because sometimes it works like a colourless blender in that it actually bleaches some of the colour back out of it. A bit of a risk doing it at this stage of the drawing, but or colouring. So can you see what I mean about how it seems to work like a colourless blender, where it's almost bleaching some of that darker colour back out of it? And I'm getting a few sort of different lines in there, but I'm actually not minding that too much, to be honest. It all seemed a bit too solid. Okay, so I think that will do. The last bit to do is just the hands on the watch and those few little details there. So I'm going to go back to this sort of colour here. Which is a glitter. We'll go back to that for that one. I just need another little touch on there because the red is coming through there still. And I'm going to do a little bit of white on there now that I've finished at the bottom. And I'm going to do a little bit more. I might try this colour and see what this looks like on it. It's more of a red, I think. But it's just to give it that shine without really changing the colour too much. It's working a bit like a clear glaze pen would. And I think I'm going to call that done. Although, actually what I might do, is because I'm liking that a little bit too much, I might just go over the top of a random mushroom and see what that looks like. See, it's not changing the colour of the mushroom, but it's working like a clear glaze pen would. Just to give a little bit of extra shine up there. And we might also do that with this one here. Now that's not going to show on a photograph, but it shows to me when I open the book and look at it, I will be seeing that shine. Okay. If you could see the mess of my table at the moment, it's incredible. And this is precisely why I don't do this an awful lot, because it does require a bit of space and a bit of mess. So I think I might leave that there. I'm going to try and show you a little bit of the shine if I can. Let's see if I can catch any of that. There we go, a little tiny bit there. You see a little bit on the mushroom there. You can see a little bit there. Sorry if I'm making you dizzy. Using that lighter yellow on top of the darker yellow has actually leached some of the colour out of it. And I don't mind that texture, it just breaks it up, because it looked like it was too much of a solid block of colour for my liking. So there we go, there's Alice and the White Rabbit. And that is Alice in Wonderland by Olga. And we've used an array of gel pens, metallic and glitter gel pens, an array of Ohuhu markers and some coloured pencils. So I hope you've enjoyed me finishing that page off, and I will be showing this on Instagram and in the completed pages at the end of the month if you want to look out for that video at the end of the month. Okay, thank you for joining me again. I really appreciate it, and I will see you in the next one. Bye now.